welcome to this week's Sam versus Lee. We're going to start off, as always, by looking back at what happened in the previous game week. So we're going to start off by looking at game week 22.
I think I did pretty well in game week 22. Well, I did pretty well in FPL.
Okay.
And I think I've done all right in Sam versus Lee as well.
Okay, cool. Let's find out. Right, so last week you picked Lord Lundstrom.
What was the theme last week? It was Northern teams, wasn't it?
Sorry, yeah, I should have said that. So the theme was Northern clubs.
Yeah, okay.
So
the
we
top
had
10
the
Northern
top
clubs.
10
Yeah.
most Northern clubs.
From Newcastle to Wolverhampton, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and everything in between. So City, Manchester, Liverpool, Merseyside. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all of those.
Cool.
All of those good guys. So yeah, you picked Lord Lundstrom as your defender.
Yes, good 6-pointer.
Nice
Happy days.
6-pointer from Friday night.
Good.
Bank that. Move on with life.
Went off early as well, actually. So all of that VAR controversy at the end, I was like, Lundstrom's points are in the bag.
Okay, happy with that. Then you picked Traore in the middle, which was a really good pick given the fixture that they had. Not necessarily the result that we were all anticipating, potentially.
Could have had an assist, actually. You laid one on to Raul Jimenez. And the Newcastle keeper, Dubravka, pulled off an absolute world. He saved, didn't he? So could have had an assist. So,
but that would have helped me as well, because obviously I had Jimenez as my striker.
True, yes, true.
So just the two for you for Traore this week. But then, you did know that away from home, Mr. Bobby Firmino does seem to return when he goes away from home. 9-pointer for him.
Happy days.
Left you on 17 points for the week, which is a nice...
I'll take that.
I'd
say that's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Go on.
Okay, so I went to Everton for my defender and picked Mason Holgate.
That was your transfer in. I don't think you picked Mason Holgate, did you? Did you?
Yeah.
Picked him for Sam versus Lee as well?
I did. I went all out.
Oh, nice 7-pointer.
In typical Sam fashion.
You're all in every time.
That's it. I'm on him. I'm bringing him in. I'm having him for this. So yes, he got me 7. So that was a nice start. Okay. I then risked, if you remember, everything on a slightly ill Martial.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but he popped up, didn't he?
But he came, he played, and he popped up with a nice 8-pointer.
Got over his illness. Had a couple of paracetamol, got out there.
Yeah, some cold and flu, and he was all about it.
A bit of Beecham.
Other tablets are available.
Yeah, probably can't say that. Yeah.
And then I went for Jimenez up top again, in the vein that you did with Traore, expecting something.
This is close.
So just the 2-pointer from Jimenez. So I got 17 points this week.
Oh, nice, okay.
So this is the first time on Sam versus Lee that we've got a draw.
Okay, a draw. So what do we do? Do we both have a point? Do we both not get a point?
I think we will share the point and have half each.
Seems like a sensible thing to do.
So
half and half.
4.5 to 2.5.
To 2.5.
So actually, Game Week 22 was pretty pointless. Really,
Game Week 22 is just a complete write-off.
But we are now moving on into Game Week 23. Now, I promised you last week, because you suggested that me picking the theme every week was unfair. So I promised that you could pick the theme this week. Now, if it was me picking, we'd have had Southern clubs.
Well, that would have made a lot of sense.
10 most southerly clubs. Yeah. That's where we were.
That's maybe next week.
But over to you then, Mr. Bonfield.
Well, I've decided to be a little bit more creative. It would have been very easy to just do the 10 most southern clubs. That would have been easy to do. But what I wanted to do was celebrate. I wanted to celebrate my team, the champions of Europe, champions of the world, Liverpool Football Club. Best start that any English league team has ever had. When we beat Spurs at the weekend, the best start that any league team has ever had. I had to get that in there. So we didn't celebrate that. So what I did was I started looking through some stats. I saw some stats on Twitter. And I thought I would pick the top 3 teams that have had the best and longest unbeaten runs in the English top flight. Now that, of course, is now Liverpool. So Liverpool, one of your options for Game Week 23, Sam versus Lee. Chelsea in 2004-2005. And then, of course, the Arsenal Invincibles from a couple of years prior to Chelsea. So those are the 3 teams we're going to look at in this video. Chelsea, Arsenal and Liverpool. You can only pick a defender, a midfielder and a forward once. And you can only pick Chelsea, Arsenal or Liverpool once.
This is actually really difficult then, because you pick the first 2 and it basically means...
You could be stuck.
That you're going to get stuck picking a player from a club. And like, if you get stuck with Arsenal attack, well, you've only got Lacazette you can pick.
You gave me free reign to do whatever I wanted to do. And I thought I would do...
This is why you're not allowed to pick the themes.
Well, last week's theme was Northern Clubs, so you can have anyone from City, Liverpool, United, Wolves. It's just like basically have anybody.
We still both pick someone who blanks.
This is true. This is a bit more It's just a little bit more niche. I thought it was just a bit more creative. So basically you can have a Chelsea defender, a Liverpool midfielder, but then you'd have to have an Arsenal forward. You could have an Arsenal defender, a Chelsea midfielder, but then you pretty much got to have Firmino because you've got to have a Liverpool forward. Does that make sense? So you can only use the teams once each, and you can only use the positions once each.
I presume you're going to say that we can't have the same player. So
correct.
We can't both have a Liverpool attacker because there's only one of them.
Yeah.
We can't both have an Arsenal attacker because there's only one of them. So what is this?
Could make it interesting.
First come, first serve.
First come, first serve. So I want you to start off with your defender. So tell us which club you're using first for your defensive person, that your pick.
Okay, well, I'm going to go rogue. Because basically I'm hoping that you don't pick the other players that I want.
Okay.
Which means I'm stuck with Arsenal for defence.
It's a good start.
Which...
Hey, no, Arsenal haven't looked as bad recently.
That's where I'm going. I'm hoping.
Okay.
I'm hoping that Arsenal are turning a bit of a corner under Arteta. There's some improvement there. It would be brave to bring in an Arsenal defender at this moment. But there is one who is doing more than just relying on clean sheets.
I think I know where we're going, yes.
So Kolasinac.
Yes, okay.
I think if we look at him over the last couple of weeks, since his return to the side in 21, he's got that one clean sheet which he got in Gameweek 21, and then obviously didn't keep a clean sheet this week. But he has been much more attacking than you would kind of necessarily appreciate, I think.
Okay.
So average position was more advanced than Maitland-Niles on the other side. So if you're going to go for one of those Arsenal defenders, it looks like it being him over Maitland-Niles on the other side. Only Lacazette and Pepe actually had more touches in the box in Gameweek 22 than Kolasinac. So he getting the right sort of positions for some attacking returns.
I think it's a reasonable pick. The one thing you've got to think with him is that he's always likely to pick up a bit of a knock, Kolasinac. She's quite injury prone. However, I do like it. What I've noticed under Arteta is that the midfield pivot, be it Torreira or Xhaka or Guendouzi, whoever plays there, tends to sort of drift out left a little bit to cover for Kolasinac going forward. I noticed in 22, Xhaka was doing that. Yeah. So as soon as Kolasinac goes forward, which he does with no thought about the consequences behind him, but what Arteta is doing is saying we don't want to stop that because you're actually giving us some returns when you bomb forward. So Xhaka, just go over a little bit, so just covering for him. So tactically you can see that Arsenal are letting, to use a phrase that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer used, they're letting the side Kolasinac horse run free a little bit.
That was Mourinho.
Was that a Mourinho one?
That was Mourinho.
Was it? I knew it was a Man United one. I couldn't remember who. Of course it was Mourinho.
But I think they've got Sheffield United this week.
Not an easy game, that.
No, but it's at home, and Sheffield United aren't quite as solid defensively away from home as they are at home. It's not an easy game, but I think there's potential there.
All right, very good. Well, my defender comes from Chelsea, so I'm using the Chelsea defence. They're going away to Newcastle. Now, despite the fact Miguel Almiron has now got 3 goals in 3 weeks and looks absolutely essential for our FPL teams, Miguel Almiron, I'm still expecting Chelsea to go there and put in a decent performance. They tend to perform pretty well away from home, sometimes better than they do at Stamford Bridge, actually. But the defender I'm going for was someone that really impressed me in Gameweek 22. And actually, in recent weeks, I think he's really found his feet in that Chelsea side. And that's Reece James. He's 5.0 million in FPL. He got an assist versus Burnley. And I think Frank Lampard seems happy to play Cesar Azpilicueta on the other side at left back, therefore freeing up the right back spot for Reece James. So, of course, you need to watch that rotation around right back because Azpilicueta is one of the more experienced members of that Chelsea side, often picks up the armband too. So, there potentially is some rotation there. But the fact that Frank Lampard has shoved Azpilicueta out to the left in Gameweek 22 suggests to me that he really rates Reece James and wants to build a bit of, wants to build that part of that side of the pitch and his mentality on that side of the pitch around Reece James and Willian in particular on that side. Got the assist against Burnley. He and Azpilicueta actually dominated. They dominated the bonus points in that game in FPL. So that tells you everything about the approach that Frank was taking to that game. All about width, all about bombing on down the side there. And I think Reece James was getting into all sorts of nice positions. If you have a look at some of his heat maps, in particular for Game Week 22 against Burnley, on the Fantasy Football Scout members area, He's in all the right places. Now, they were playing Burnley. Now, Burnley are one of the current Fantasy Premier League whipping boys right now. They're getting beat left, right and centre. So how much can we read into how well Chelsea performed in that game? I don't know. But nevertheless, I just think that Frank is starting to show a lot more faith in Reece James. He's going to be in that side more often than not, I think. That was their first clean sheet since game week 18, Chelsea. And again, given the opposition, maybe we ought to urge caution a little bit, but I don't think Newcastle are free scoring. I don't see them bagging 2, 3, 4, 5 goals, right?
So the Almiron is on a running
I know he is.
goal scoring streak.
And I said that before, but I just don't, I don't see that, that necessarily continues. I think they're not as free scoring as perhaps they'd like to be, Newcastle. Reece James also had 3 attempts on goal, 3 key passes in the 90 minutes, and over the course of the game it was second for crosses, only to actually Ryan Fraser, would you believe, in that Bournemouth game where Watford battered them, which was kind of interesting. But Reece James second for crosses. So whichever stat you care to look at for Reece James in game week 22, he did very, very well indeed. Did well indeed. So he's going to be my defender, Reece James. Who are you going for in midfield?
All right. So I'm denied about this for a long time, actually. But in the end, I think you have to look to Liverpool, particularly when we're all thinking about the double game week that we've got coming up in 24. You're kind of preparing your teams and getting organised, and I think the obvious pick is Mane.
Yep.
So I'm going with Mane in the mid. Now, game week 22 was a little bit of an off day for Mane. I think Tanganga absolutely played his socks off against him, and he really held his own against arguably the informed player in the Premier League full stop right now.
Had a good game, the youngster, didn't he, to be fair?
Very much so, very much so. And played Mane very quiet, actually, throughout that game. He kept him under control.
Wonder whether Mane's travel to the African Cup of Nations Awards and stuff maybe affected him. I don't know.
Maybe.
I saw the picture of the plane on Twitter that he used. I'm telling you, you could have a pretty decent rest on that plane, to be honest with you. He wasn't on a Ryanair, let me tell you.
For sure. But I think Spurs and Mourinho went out with a game plan that was to control Mane. That's the way they set it up.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Manchester United can do that in the same way.
Okay.
And I expect Mane back at home, where statistically he is a lot better this season than he is away from home. Not so much as Salah. Salah is statistically, the gulf is bigger between his away performances and his home ones, but Mane still, there is a big difference between the two of them. So I think, he's at home. I trust him more at home. I certainly trust him with the armband more at home. And prior to that Spurs game, he's returned 6, 6, 11 and 8 points.
Yeah,
so
he's bang on
the
form,
run is there, the form is there.
Yeah.
Even this fixture, I think this fixture is still good. It's a proper derby. There's a proper rivalry there between Liverpool and Manchester United. It's the sort of game that you just know that Liverpool are going to turn up. The big game. Liverpool
didn't play great at Old Trafford. That's the closest that Liverpool have come to losing a game so far this season. If you remember, Lallana popped up in the 80-something minute to rescue a draw for Liverpool.
He did, but I think I can see Mane doing really well.
All right. Well, listen, you've gone for Mane. I'm going to go for Salah. I think that's the obvious. I think that's the obvious pick. You're talking about the difference between home and away for these Liverpool midfielders. Well, there's a gulf there for Liverpool. There's no doubt about it. And actually, if I look forward to double game week 24, and I think about Salah's away record versus his home record, given that both of those games in double game week 24 away from home, that gives me a bit of concern as a Salah owner and a Mane non-owner, which is something I'll actually be looking to rectify with some of my transfers over the next couple of game weeks. But nevertheless, Salah at home to Manchester United. 9 goals at home versus 1 away. He has an attempt every 21 minutes versus every 26 minutes away from home. So not a massive difference in terms of the amount of attempts he's taking, but he seems to be more clinical and he's more accurate and he's getting more goals when he's at home.
Yeah, sure.
He's also going to be up against Brandon Williams against Manchester United at Anfield. So despite the fact that Williams has looked pretty good, actually, to be fair to him, in terms of the way that he's slotted into that Manchester United side, from what I've seen of him, and I don't know a lot about the youngster, the Man United fans that are watching this can obviously get in the comments, let us know what you think about Brandon Williams. 4.0 in FPL, by the way, so if you're looking to save some money on a defender to maybe upgrade one of your midfielders for the Liverpool double game week, maybe Williams is worth a bit of a look there. Seems to have got the nod over Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw might be injured or something, but certainly Williams is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's favourite right now. But in the highlights that I've seen of him, everything that I like about him seems to be going forward. Got the assist in game week 22 because he got the foul, and goodness knows what Crawley's doing coming out as fast as he did. But Brandon Williams, in a very kind of mature and experienced way, actually nicked the ball away and got the assist, the fancy assist at least. So I think if he's going to show some of that attacking prowess against Liverpool, could actually leave a bit of space in behind for Salah. And for Trent, actually. I think Trent might be a nice pick on that, but from that perspective too. So, Brandon Williams is young, not going to be that experienced, won't have come up against many better than Salah in his brief stint in the Manchester United side so far. So I'm going to go, you're going to go for Mane, I'm going to go for Salah. Seems like an obvious thing to do.
And I think ahead of game week 24, when we're all thinking about how do we deal with Liverpool, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have them up against each other this week.
Exactly. So who's your forward? You've got to pick a Chelsea forward, so
I have, which basically
not a lot to choose from.
There's one guy.
Go on then.
So it's going to be Tammy Abraham, of
course,
because there isn't really another Chelsea forward. Did have those 4 blanks. Since then, he's had 7, 5, and 6 in terms of returns.
Consistent,
so
right? Yeah.
He's starting to get back to that consistent Tammy that we saw and loved a few weeks back.
Yeah.
We had that dodgy run of those 4 games where he wasn't doing anything. We were all starting to lose patience, and then we had the injury just prior to that where people were getting rid of him. I think for me, we're starting to see the best of him again. He does feel like he goes on these little runs where he does good things and then gets a bit quieter. But Chelsea, I think they just lost their way a little bit for a little while, and that was always inevitable when you've got young players, young manager.
Yeah.
But they seem to have kind of, that last game week 22, is a real re-energiser, I think, for Chelsea, and I can see that boosting them. Plus,
I think they were a bit knackered over Christmas.
I think so, yes, I do. And I also think that, it's January now, and they weren't expecting to be able to sign anybody or rebolster the team.
Yeah.
And so there was that kind of, potentially there was a little bit of a slump there in terms of their energy levels and knowing that they weren't going to have anyone come in. Whereas it's that, well, now somebody can come in. I would expect that those players will start to refocus themselves and reboost themselves again, because they won't want to lose their spots now that Chelsea can sign players, now that ban is over. So I'm going to put my eggs in the Tammy Abraham basket.
Because you can't choose anybody else.
Well, partly
you're going to have
that,
Giroud or Batshuayi, are you?
But I mean, the choice I had was between picking an Arsenal or potentially moving it around so that I didn't have to have Abraham up top. But I do think that Newcastle defensively aren't that solid. They can definitely get in.
Lots of injuries, Newcastle defensively.
Absolutely, they can definitely score against that Newcastle defence. And if they are going to score against that Newcastle defence, I would expect Tammy Abraham to be part of that. I also think he's got a nice relationship, and we've seen it in previous weeks. And earlier on in the season when he first came back, he's got a nice relationship with Callum Hudson-Odoi, and I can see the two of them kind of working well together in that game.
Do you know what's interesting about we mentioned before about Azpilicueta and James bombing forward and dominating the bonus points and getting crosses across? I think Frank must be looking at Tammy Abraham and saying, well, he's good aerially, Tammy Abraham. He's good in the air. So you've got to expect a few more crosses to be coming into the box. I noticed that in game week 22, Newcastle conceded from a corner against Wolves, didn't they? So, maybe there's something in that. Maybe I wouldn't be... A Tammy Abraham header in game week 23 would not surprise me.
No.
Would not surprise me.
So I've got Chelsea up top. You, my dear, must have an Arsenal attacker.
Well, same as you, I've got no choice, have I? So up until the red card for Aubameyang this game week, I thought, Aubameyang's looking good because, at home to Sheffield United, we know how difficult Sheffield United can be. You quite rightly said that, at home they are imperious. They're it's like a fortress, Bramall Lane, isn't it, nowadays?
Absolutely.
Away from home, you can get at them, no doubt about it, if you play them in the right way with the right system.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, for Sam versus Lee, I was thinking about what the topic's going to be. Well, I'll be going Alba then, won't I? Of course I can't. So I've got to go Lacazette. So I'm going Lacazette for this game week. Now, I don't think that's going to be too bad a shout, actually, because without Aubameyang, I'm hoping and I suspect that Lacazette will be on penalties. There is a risk that Pepe is on penalties. I think he was on penalties when he played in France last season.
And he has taken one once before, the one that Aubameyang gave him to get him started.
Yeah, but that was a bit of a weird scenario, wasn't it? Where Aubameyang, like you say, just gave him the penalty.
Yeah.
I think in a game like this, I think it'll be Lacazette that takes over penalty duties. So. I think. And I think Arsenal will...
Henderson, though.
Well, yeah, listen, that's it. It won't be easy, no doubt about it. But at this stage, I was like, well, I've got no choice. I've got to go for an Arsenal attacker. It's got to be Lacazette. 2 attempts in the box versus Palace, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that was more than anybody else on the Arsenal side. So Arsenal do build that team around, and they do look to him to score the goals. And with Kolasinac bombing down that side, Who knows? Maybe Lacazette could be the one to have. Of course, got the assist for Aubameyang as well, with a really nice threaded little pass through to his mate there. So,
and you do get the impression from Lacazette that he does like to stand up and be counted when he's needed. And with Aubameyang not there, I can see him kind of being like, yeah.
Well, there we go. So there's my three. So my three: Reece James as my defender from Chelsea, Mo Salah as my midfielder from Liverpool, and Alexandre Lacazette as my Arsenal striker. Remind us of your three.
Okay, so I'm going Kolasinac as my defender. Don't laugh.
These are quite random picks.
These are very bizarre. I'm going with Mane
That's not
as
random.
my
That's a good pick.
midfielder. And then Tammy Abraham leading the troops.
That's a good pick
from
as
the
well,
top.
I think. That's a good pick. So, guys, tell us what you think. Are you hashtag Team Lee, hashtag Team Sam? Get in the comments below. Let us know who you would pick from Chelsea, Arsenal and Liverpool. Remember, you can only have a defender, a midfielder, an attacker. You can only use those clubs once. So get in the comments below. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time for Sam versus Lee.
Thanks, guys.